bloodsuckers.
As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell,
Join us!
you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil.
We have such sights to show you.
A veil that is beyond our own comprehension.
I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right, we're back for episode 180, and today we're going to be doing some Nunsploitation. Am I doing Halo? I think I was doing Halo there at the end.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't know.
She doesn't like it. She got mad the first few times I tried to do it.
God, we got it. Okay.
Why can't I have fun?
I'm just kidding.
What are you, the fun police?
But yes, it's done. It's over.
Thanks for the fun police over here.
We are in quarantine, and this shit is serious.
Okay, all right.
We don't have any time for your antics.
Okay, all right. Anyway, guys, we got two movies this week that we're going to be talking about. One from the 80s and one from the 90s. The first one we're going to be talking about is The Other Hell from 1981 by Bruno Mattei. And we're also going to be talking about
Dark Waters from 1993
by
Mariano Baino.
That's right.
Yep.
So two Italian films, technically, even though one of them was filmed in like Ukraine and like Russia and shit like that. So it's been pretty interesting stuff because I've never really watched that many Nunsploitation films to really know much about it. And that's partially why I wanted to, is because I wanted to kind of experience what that was like. I've seen movies with nuns in them, but that's not what Nunsploitation is.
What is it, Alex?
Wow, we'll get into that when we talk about the movies.
Okay.
So it makes more sense then. But yeah, for those of you who haven't seen these movies, buckle the fuck up because some of these are pretty weird and ridiculous. But that's kind of what you expect from Nunsploitation anyway, right?
Right.
I mean, that's
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just silliness. So how has the week been for you, Christina? Did you enjoy this past week? We celebrated
your birthday, and we got a cake and a cheesecake.
Wait, tell them about the cake,
cookies.
Christina. You got a cake for me?
And I ate most of it.
Yeah, she ate like 90% of the cake.
Well, I'm sorry. I got you the cheesecake, really, because I know you like cheesecake. And it's cake. I love cake, and I can't eat cake because I have reaction to gluten, and I paid for it all week.
Yeah, she really did too.
But it was shut up. It was so good though. But no, my joints get inflamed and stuff. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's why you shouldn't eat it.
I know, it's so good.
She uses me as an excuse to get it.
I was like,
pretty much.
Birthday cake.
Yeah. But we had fun. We just kind of we've been taking it real easy the past couple of days just to relax. She can I tell them that I sat and watched with you as a thank you?
That's up to you.
Well, Christina, she's always doing nice things. She did nice things for my birthday and stuff, and it made me happy. So I spent an entire day sitting with her watching the Beverly Hills fucking, what is it?
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
For an entire day, guys.
I totally
You want to talk about horror. The amount of eye rolls, my eyes are hurting because it gets so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. That's why I like it. I can't help it.
But no. But that's why I was like, you know what? Maybe I should indulge in things that you like a little bit more.
And I appreciate it. I had a good time with you because we could make fun together.
Well, I was just so appreciative of everything you did for my birthday. So it was
I tried.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I made myself watch it and then got into it because I wanted to see where it went because these bitches be crazy. But it's interesting because you got like some famous people in there, like Kyle Richards, who was in Halloween.
Right.
So I kind of made it like interesting for me because she was the little girl in Halloween that was being babysit.
And I'm hoping in this newer season that starts up here soon that they're going to be showing scenes from Halloween Kills.
That's right. Yeah. Because she's in that too.
Yeah.
Kyle Richards returns as one of the kids from the original movie.
Right. And then Denise Richards is in this, and I was hoping that.
Oh, that's right. They have the same last name.
Yeah, well, Richardson and then
Richardson.
I
think it's Kyle Richardson.
You're right. And then Denise Richards, right. And then they haven't brought up Tammy and the T-Rex yet, so I keep waiting for that moment where she's gonna bring it up that she was in this movie.
That's so funny that you say that because I was thinking that the whole time because I remember the story in the Tammy and the T-Rex where everybody was like, she was just so hot and so much fun. And like she would have parties at her house, like, for the whole cast and Tammy and the T-Rex. And like, I was just like, wow, that's so crazy.
It is. So yeah, I don't like all the Real Housewives seasons, but she just kind of makes fun of it in a way. Like, yeah, I really do. It's like my drama.
It's like watching Jerry Springer, pretty much.
Really it is.
Anyway. Enough of that shit. But yeah, I had to twist it and make it into my own thing, by pointing out all those like horror elements in it for whatever reason, which is just really crazy. But anyway, we did watch some other movies and stuff this week, though, that TV shows, movies. What else did we watch?
We didn't.
Well, we finished up Ozark, which was fucking pretty good. It's a weird season. Like, it's starting to get a little crazy, but the end of that season 3, was
fucking
just like,
nuts.
Holy shit.
Fucking nuts.
And the song that they play during it, too, is so cool. Like, I found out, I was like, oh, man. But we watch a lot of stuff that's not horror when we're not doing the podcast because I don't feel like I have to review it then.
Less work.
Right, but I've been trying to watch some old stuff, like some action stuff. I watched Steven Seagal's fucking Marked for Death. Mm-hmm. Which is like it's a crazy fucking action movie where they mix in like voodoo and like fucking Steven Seagal. There's some people that are like, no. Like, why are you watching that? And I'm like, I don't give a shit what you think. This is fun. Watching him break people's arms and shit is just fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it might be that time.
What time is it?
Horrorshots! All right, so Christina came up with some of this. Well, we kind of made it together, actually.
Yeah, we did.
But it was your idea to do a communion shot, I guess, of some sort. Since
nuns,
we got nuns and shit.
It's the church.
Yeah.
So. So since it's the church, so this one time I was at Walgreens and in their clearance section, they had this Concord grape wine.
Manischewitz.
What's it called?
Manischewitz.
Okay, I'm not going to try to say that. And it's actually a Jewish wine for Passover. So I thought,
Manischewitz.
Yeah, Manischewitz.
Manischewitz. I think that's how you say it. Yeah.
Okay, I have
It's
no
Passover
idea.
wine.
So I thought, hey, let's use this for the Nunsploitation episode because it totally makes sense.
Which it really doesn't, but yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I thought it'd be funny. So we mixed up ounce of this.
Well, we figured, when you do like, what is it called in Christianity when you take the bread of Christ? Communion. Yeah, when you do communion, you take wine, the
red wine, the blood of Christ.
In Catholicism, they drink wine, and like when you go down the different types of like Christianity, they'll use grape juice.
Right.
But like the Catholic is like wine, and you eat these wafers that are non-leaven, I think, too, right?
And what do you call those wafers, Alex?
Jesus. You take some Jesus.
Eat that blood of Christ.
Yeah, eat that blood of Christ, baby. But yeah, so what is in it? What is in...
Holy hell is what it's called.
So what is in it?
So we got 1 ounce of this Manischewitz wine, and then another ounce of Di Sereno,
which is amaretto liqueur from Italy. Yeah.
Since these are pretty much
so we got
Italy.
Communion, and we got, since these two movies are like kind of like, but we're basically doing The Other Hell on this one.
Right.
This is The Other Hell shot from the movie The Other Hell by Bruno Mattei and Claudio Fragasso. So one of their first movies they worked on together.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, she made it up for me. So it's 1 part Manischewitz, 1 part amaretto liqueur.
Yeah.
So cheers. Now, what you're going to do when you take this shot, you're going to stare at each other. If you have a mask that you can cover your mouth before
so you don't get
do
all
it.
your fucking corona germs all over.
I don't know how this is going to taste, guys. So
I'm going to only take a sip.
I'm going to drink it because I don't really care. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's not bad.
That's not bad.
No.
It's a little winey too.
That has a little bit of a bad aftertaste.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, okay, I'm not too loud.
Yikes. Hey, we make do with what we got in quarantine, guys, so. But if you would like to take a holy hell based on the movie The Other Hell by Bruno Mattei, all you have to do is go to longlivethevoid.com and check out our hashtag horror shot section now. That's it for horror shots. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of The Other Hell from 1981 and
Dark Waters from 1993.
Right now.
So we're obviously going to start out with the movies that are in chronological order. So we're going to start off with The Other Hell. Go ahead, Christina.
Oh, hi. The Other Hell. It's also called Teatro Inferno. That was the original title.
Mm-hmm. Also called Guardian of Hell, The Presence, and many others.
Yeah, and many others. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A priest investigates paranormal activity at a nun's convent where a deep, dark secret is about to resurface in the guise of murder. Could the devil be behind this, or is that just what Mother Superior wants everyone to believe?
Ooh.
Taglines for this movie: some things are better left unknown, and it has awakened. This movie was directed and written by Bruno Mattei. He actually died in 2007, and you're a really big fan of his.
Yeah, I have a lot of his movies. Well, a lot of his horror movies, anyway.
So he's like an Italian B-movie director.
Right, yeah. A lot of the Italian filmmakers were kind of like ripping off stuff in a way, but they always ended up being more original sometimes because they were trying to rip it off in a way. Sometimes it was more blatant than others, but Bruno Mattei has some that are pretty blatant, but I still really like them. There's like nothing like a really good bad Bruno Mattei film is really good.
And I know you've reviewed Shocking Dark.
Yeah.
Terminator 2, aka Terminator 2.
Right, yeah. We own it. We bought it at the convention last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then, have you watched Rats, Nights of Terror?
Yeah, we covered that one too.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Oh, dang, I don't remember.
That was a good one too. I want to get that with Hell of the Living Dead on Blu-ray because I have Hell of the Living Dead only on DVD. And I want to, there's like a 2-pack from Blue Underground where it has like Hell of the Living Dead and Rats, Night of Terror. Both of them are cheesy goodness.
Any other movies you want to mention?
Oh, he's done a lot. I mean,
he's done a shit ton.
This isn't even his first nun movie. He kind of simultaneously did another movie called The True Story of the Nun of Monza, which is a drama. He also did, I've mentioned Hell of the Living Dead, Violence in a Women's Prison Massacre, Strike Commandos, Scalps, which is one that I have on the list for the Amazon or whatever, because I think we should get that. It's weird, it's short, but it's gory. It's about like Native Americans like coming back from the dead and like murdering everybody. It's pretty cool. He did Zombie 3, Robo War, Shocking Dark, and more.
Right, a lot more. All right, this movie was also written by Claudio Fragasso. He did movies like Trolls 2 from 1990, After Death, which he actually directed.
Yeah, it's Zombie 4 technically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And then he's still writing, and recently he wrote a script called Karate Man.
Yeah, I saw that. But he also did Monster Dog, Scalps he helped write.
Hell of the Living Dead.
Night Killer, which is one of the best So Bad It's Good films I've seen in a long time.
And also Rats, Night of Terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots.
Also, the music is done by Goblin. And who do you have for cast?
Yeah, that's right. So Franca Stoppi, who plays Mother
Vincenza.
She was also in Beyond the Darkness from 1979, The True Story of the Nun of Monza, another nun movie from 1980, and also Women's Prison Massacre as well.
Yeah.
Carlo Di Mejo, who plays Father Valerio. Last movie he was in before he passed away was a H.P. Lovecraft movie called Two Left Arms.
Saw that.
That was from 2013. And then Women's Prison Massacre again. City of the Living Dead.
Yeah, he did a lot, actually. He was no stranger to exploitation films or horror. He did, like, Contamination, which we just bought. The City of the Living Dead, one of my favorite Italian films. The House by the Cemetery, Manhattan Baby. So he's a Fulci guy, too.
Totally. A reoccurring actor. Also, Francesca Carmeno, who plays Elisa, the girl with the surgical mask on.
Right.
This was her only movie.
Yeah, I know. But she was, I heard, a musician, I guess, in Italy or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
It also has Susan Forget, Forget. She plays Sister Rosario. This is her first film. She was also in Nero and Papia, The Scent of the Night, and a couple of more. There's also Franco Garofalo, who plays Boris, the gardener or the housekeeper, whatever the fuck you want to call him.
The weird guy.
He is a weird guy. He was in Hell of the Living Dead, which is the one I always remember him from, because that's like the Dawn of the Dead ripoff, because they're all wearing the blue suits. Like they did in Dawn of the Dead for some reason. He was in The Return of the Exorcist, Eyes Behind the Stars, The Scorpion with Two Tails, Hercules, and quite a few more. He hasn't acted, for years, by the way. He stopped and just decided to move to an island and live there. That's what they were talking about. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So what did you think of The Other Hell?
Well, I've never seen this movie before, and I am, of course, like I've mentioned, a fan of Bruno Mattei. So I had to get it, you know, because I was like, oh, I've never seen Nunsploitation.
When did you buy this movie?
I think
was it a while ago?
I don't know if we ordered it online or we got it at the convention, but I think we did it online. It was on like a sale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. It was during a sale online that they had like months ago. And I was like, oh, I got to get some stuff. And it was like really cheap. So I just like picked it up. I think it was like $7 or something like that. So I was like, well, that's the right price for me. But soon I'll pretty much own everything that he's made in the horror genre, at least, because I really want to watch all of them. I've seen the majority of the popular ones, but no, I don't love all of his films or anything. I just want to say that up front. But they do have some weird shit in them, and they're usually played straight, but like super over the top, cheesy, schlocky vibe, like just get it done kind of filmmaking, and just kind of like rip off this and that. And sometimes the mixture of those things make pretty interesting, weird cinema. And I love Italian films, so for horror especially. So Bruno Mattei hits that spot that very few directors do, other than like Claudio Fragasso, who is also another one of those directors who just, for some reason, makes weird cinema that I just enjoy. So, but on the surface, the story of The Other Hell is pretty different. It's an interesting story. It's not a terrible, twisty story either. One that you probably won't be expecting if you've never seen it. The twist isn't super unique and somewhat baffling, I guess it is, at the same time.
Right.
It feels kind of stitched together poorly, like this movie feels very disjointed. Like it doesn't flow. It just kind of feels like you have like a bunch of random scenes put together to sort of take you along this journey with no real explanation or purpose other than to have this twist at the end that sort of pays off, but not really. Like not the way that I was hoping it would pay off.
Right.
They just present like all these weird, obligatory sort of weird things in there and just move on. Although I will say that they start up pretty quick. So it's like weird things start happening like immediately, which I was happy to see because I didn't want it to drag on for more than half the film and then things start happening,
Right.
Which is good. So the pacing isn't super terrible. Even if it is disjointed, the frequency, I should say, is odd, but not terrible. It is terrible if you're just looking at it like compared to regular movies that you would watch today, because this is totally Italian 80s schlock, stuff.
Right. Early 80s.
Right. Like it's really not, it's a certain acquired taste for people who are fans of horror that have been fans of horror for a long time. I really wish that the movie would have gone in the direction that it was sort of luring you before the twist instead of the twist.
Right.
But it's still interesting. The twist is interesting. I just wish they would have done more with it. Like it would have gone off the wall crazy at that point in time. Could have been super awesome, like if they did, but it just sort of drags, and it's a shame that it does, because Nunsploitation, in my mind, perceiving it what I was hoping for, seems like it could be ripe with craziness. And some of the movies are.
Right.
Oh,
I guess. I don't know.
But, it's not all terrible. Lots of unexplainable things happen in the convent that lure you into a sense of the devil infecting the convent, fires out of nowhere, deaths for no reason, nun-on-nun stabbings, and so on, all tied together by a holy detective priest who tries to solve the riddle of the deathly convent, or the unsacred, I don't know, like desecrated fucking convent. But, there's very minor gore, minor blood on the film, one animal death in it, by the way, for those of you.
And when you say animal death, you mean real animal. Yeah,
it's a real murder, basically, if you're not into that kind of thing. It didn't really bother me because it's such an old film. So it's not like I enjoy watching it, but there's nothing really extraordinary about this film. It's pretty tame stuff. For a movie that could have delivered like a holy punch to exploitation films, and it wasn't even the first of Nunsploitation, it sort of just holds its punches back and just kind of,
Yeah.
It's got a few silly moments that made me laugh, and lots of why are these people just going on with their daily routine stuff while this shit is happening.
Yeah, why everyone's getting murdered.
Yeah, like it's weird. Like one scene will happen and then they're still hanging out. Like after something as devastating as what happens in this film, you'd be like, okay, time to call the police. No, they never do.
No.
I'd say that it isn't Mattei's worst film, but it's his first horror film, technically.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and not like some of his better ones. He hadn't, gotten his stride yet with that kind of brood of horror that he did, for better or worse, whatever you want to call it. It's not as good as some of the other films that he delivered in his catalog later on. Still, I'm glad I own it, but I'd give this one probably like a 5 out of 10 for like that 80s Bruno Mattei style scale, I guess you would call it. It's just kind of average. It had promise, but ultimately failed to deliver. And it was his learning or stepping stone to better films later on.
That makes sense.
Which most people would consider his better films to be shit. Mm-hmm. But if you've, like I've mentioned before, if you've had a lot of cheese, you know which is good cheese and bad. So what about you, though? What'd you think?
Well, remember, I'm coming at this as I'm not a fan of these types of movies.
Right.
So I'm probably a little bit more harsher than you.
Which is what I said last time, and you got really offended by that.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever. It's because you said it. That's why. I did like the concept of how the nuns were possessed by Satan, but it was a weird follow through. Like you said,
this twist.
Yeah. The thing that bugged me the most was the music didn't match up to the atmosphere.
Right.
But the atmosphere was really lacking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like it could have, anytime it had potential to do so, it just kind of falls apart.
Yeah. It was really weird.
Yeah, that's why I said it feels so disjointed. Yeah. It doesn't really follow through with that vibe.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And it was really goofy music with the scenes that should have.
It's Goblin.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't say it's goofy. It just didn't fit, maybe.
Well, even that main song.
Right.
Like, it was, come on. Like, it was
felt
pretty.
like that song felt so familiar. It was like the B-sides of Goblin's music. You know what I mean?
Oh, maybe they got it on the cheap.
They probably did, yeah.
That would make sense. But the dialogue was really boring.
Okay.
It was really boring. And it wasn't even like a slow burn to me. It was just boring.
Yeah.
But it did have really fantastic imagery. There was a bat on a crucifix. The communion scenes were really bloody. Not gory, but just bloody. There were dolls hanging in the basement scenes, which I really liked. And there was a cat, and I wanted more of the cat. I wanted to see more of the fucking cat.
Oh, yeah, that scene, too, with the cat.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how the nuns thought the vagina... Hold on, let me see. Stop. No, hold on. I liked how the nuns thought the vagina was the door to evil because it is.
Yeah, that's like right in the beginning of the movie. Yeah. Like right off the bat, you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
The vagina is the gateway to evil. And then did she start stabbing her in the vagina?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, the acting was okay. What's her name? Francesca, who played the Mother Superior. She did Crazy Nun well, but I don't know, everybody else was just okay. So I was.
Oh, Mother Vincenza is Franca Stoppi. Isn't that who you're talking about?
Yeah, Franca Stoppi. I have problems with saying names, obviously.
Maybe it's Stoppi too. I probably am saying it wrong as well. So.
Oh well, you guys get it. So I was a bit disappointed in this one because I do like religious horror movies.
Right,
I really do.
I wanted them to kind of go Unleash.
Yeah,
like supernatural, crazy Unleashed.
It really didn't. So right. I also gave it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, and to give you guys kind of an idea, so we're on the same page. It's just average.
Right, it's just average.
It makes sense because this is like their first attempt. It was like one of the first films that him and Claudio Fragasso worked together on, and they were doing horror Bruno said it was like his first horror film, so they probably just didn't get their groove on right away. But yeah, like this movie is kind of like what's that movie, Creepers, or part Carrie, part
it was a little Carrie,
Nunsploitation. Like, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it just has like, it's like they tried to rip off, like he even said that he was trying to rip off the movie Inferno, but I don't really see where by Dario Argento, because he did Inferno, which is the sequel to Suspiria.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's like the Mother of Tears trilogy or whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
Which actually is just enough. It is a weird enough movie, and it's really kind of artistic that I really like it. It's one that I need to get, actually, and I don't own. That you might like, actually, for the cheesy kind of weird, what the fuck is going on. But yeah, I don't think it's anything like that. But they said that they were trying to make it look like that. Even the cover of the movie is kind of done in a way that looks like Inferno. So... the original cover.
Maybe that's
there's a bunch of different covers. So like one of the first ones, like this skull with like a snake through it.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, because there is a skull.
There's also another one with like a skull in a nun's outfit, and then there's the new one that the Severin did that is also part of another cover somewhere else too. So yeah. But yeah, so 5 out of 5 from both of us, guys. Yeah. That's interesting. So we're starting to kind of hone in on our tastes here a little bit, huh? It sucks, man. Like, I know that some of you guys haven't seen this one yet and we're kind of interested in it. I would only suggest this movie to fans of Bruno Mattei. Like if you're not a fan, you're probably not going to like it. The ones that are going to be more forgiving of this are Bruno Mattei fans. So... take that as what you will. If you can rent it, and I would probably rent it. I would pick it up if you're a fan, though, of his work.
It's free on Amazon, right?
Yeah, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's free.
Well,
it's
with your
per
membership,
subscription, which is $100 a year. But yeah, which is cheaper than Netflix, technically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to watch it on there, you can check it out. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about that movie. If you agree with us, like, did we hit or miss on your particular interest? Do you think it's better than we're saying? It just didn't scratch that itch for me.
Right.
So, but we do have a lot of trivia and stuff about it that we're going to go into now. And this will contain spoilers, and we'll go over some of our scenes and things to kind of like flesh out this movie and our thoughts on it. So if you don't want anything spoiled, you can always go down to the timestamps down below and skip to the next movie, which is Dark Waters from 1993. And listen to our spoiler-free section of that. And then, go from there. So this is your warning.
It's The Purge.
So... there's some interesting stuff about this movie. It's not a very popular movie, to be honest, but in the 1970s, there were about 3 to 4 Italian exploitation films per year dedicated to narratives involving nuns.
Per year?
Yes.
Wow.
And these nun exploitation films, known as Nunsploitation, were produced elsewhere in the United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, and Spain, but the highest concentration came from Italy. And
do you think it's because of the high high Catholic?
Probably.
There?
You know, it is when it's forced on you enough, you kind of rage against it, right?
Right. Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just like they say about Catholic schoolgirls, you know,
Right.
like how they're just trouble and they're just going to be like wild because they're forced the ways of Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah. But these films were later dubbed, like I said, Nunsploitation, and they often combine nudity, sexual subject matter, and occasionally horror. Claudio Fragasso wrote the screenplays for The Other Hell, like you mentioned, finding it specifically more interesting than Mattei's The True Story of the Nun of Monza, as it reminded him of Carrie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
set
that
in a
makes sense.
convent, you know.
Right.
But both The Other Hell and The True Story of the Nun Monza were the first films that Fragasso and Mattei shared credits on. And Mattei spoke about being influenced by what is described as Argento's concepts, which I mentioned about the Inferno movie. But Nunsploitation, along with Nazi-sploitation, is a subgenre that ran a parallel course alongside women in prison films in the 1970s and 80s, which Bruno Mattei did quite a few of, too.
Which is weird. I didn't think there was women in prison.
Yeah, there was
exploitation.
I've seen them. I've seen them, and I think they're even on Prime. I could be wrong, though.
Huh.
They're set, you know, in an isolated fortress-like convents where all the female population turns to lesbianism and perversity.
Oh, that's why it's popular.
Right. And the element of religious guilt allows for lurid depictions of mortifying the flesh, such as self-flagellation and pain, masochistic rituals. The Mother Superior is usually a cruel, corrupt warden like Martinet, who enforces strict discipline, like whipping and medieval style torture and shit like that.
Spanking.
Right. And often lusts after her female charges. An equally sadistic and lecherous priest is often included to add an element of masculine menace to the story. So these are a little bit, the movies we did are a little bit on the nose, Nunsploitation, but it kind of branched out into these women in prison kind of sort of sadism thing, you know. But some segments from the Scandinavian film, the silent film called Haxen from 1922, have been called the first Nunsploitation film.
Oh, wow.
Although, you know, it's debatable. But Japan also had quite a few of these films, too, because Christianity was never the main religion there. So that was their way of kind of fighting back on it, too. And it kind of produced these other Nunsploitation type films as well. Mm-hmm. And they did a lot of female exploitation films like Lady, I can't think of what it is, but there's a bunch of female exploitation films out there. But that was also because women were not, you know, it was like women in power was like a big deal. So it's interesting. I want to watch some of those too, just to see what it's like, because they were in a long list of different movies of Nunsploitation that either traipse slightly on horror or not. Mm-hmm. So do you remember when you were watching the movie and you were like, I wonder if this was like filmed in a real convent or something?
I did wonder, because it was very realistic, like they didn't build it.
Right. Well, Bruno Mattei said that the convent was shot in the Convento de Santa Priscilla in Rome, which was back then owned by the FIAT, but now belongs to the Secret Service, so they let them shoot there.
Oh, okay,
So
that's why.
It had been derelict for a long period of time.
Because in my head, I was thinking, how did they convince this church place to film a horror movie? Like,
yeah, they just let it run dead pretty much. And so they were like probably using the money to pay for like the land tax or something. I don't know. Or maybe they just let them shoot there for free. They didn't really specifically state that, but it, like I mentioned before, they shared some of the same sets though. The True Story of the Nun of Monza shared with this movie, The Other Hell.
Oh, okay.
So the Nun of Monza used the church and the garden as the same set. All the interior was done for The Other Hell. Like that was theirs.
Okay.
They never used any of the interior shots for
That's smart.
the Nun of Monza. Yeah.
That's smart.
But they were like literally doing both movies almost exactly at the same time.
That's a cheap way to do it.
Oh, fuck yeah, it is. Yeah. If you're trying to make some money and you want to fucking use the same shit, I mean, you might as well.
Right.
So you remember there was like a couple of scenes in the movie where there was like all these skulls stacked up on top of each other.
Like they were making it seem like catacombs?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That was actually a site in Naples for a mass grave for an outbreak of cholera called Capa y Muerto, which means head of the dead.
So all that shit was real.
Yeah, you can even visit it not today.
I wonder if when they were filming this, do you think that place is haunted?
I don't know. You never really, maybe they didn't believe in that kind of thing.
Yeah, but even if you don't believe it, something happens.
They didn't mention it.
Oh, damn it.
Also, we mentioned the animal killing scene where the chicken get its head cut off.
Yeah.
And you were like, what the fuck? No.
I was like, that's a real, he like had it by the neck and I was like, that's a real chicken. That's a real fucking chicken. And then whap, he like chops it off and then the fucking chicken's still moving and shit.
Well, Franco Garofalo, who plays Boris the gardener or whatever, is the character that cuts it off, right? Uh-huh. He didn't actually cut the chicken's head off. He refused to do it.
Oh, so it was like a stunt.
So the guy they bought the guy who they bought the chicken from, actually they cut to his hand because they go to the priest's face and then they cut back and you can't see.
You're right, you can't.
Yeah, so it goes to
because I thought they were just focusing it on the chicken, but they were doing it on purpose.
Yeah, they really cut its head off though. Oh. I'm sure they probably ate it there too because that's just how they are.
Probably.
But he wanted no part of it. Franco was like, hell no, you ain't gonna pay me enough.
Right.
I would have a hard time doing that too, man.
I would too. I mean, I like meat.
I do too, and it's kind of hypocritical of me that I can't even eat. Like I can't even kill to eat. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, I wouldn't be able to cut a chicken's head off.
Right.
Like it just wouldn't be in me to kill something.
Right.
It's like if I was starving, maybe. Like we knew somebody that actually killed a fucking cat and cooked it up. Ugh. Who was homeless.
We did?
Yes.
We do?
Yes, we did.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I think he's in jail for animal abuse.
Now he's cutting up rats.
I don't know. Maybe he's eating humans in prison.
He's eating ass.
He's eating corona people in prison, I guess. I don't know.
Too soon.
I know. Anyway, so we got some scenes. You mentioned the scene about the nun stabbing the dead body's vagina.
Vagina is the gateway to hell.
Yeah, she says her exact words are, I wrote it down, the genitals are the door to evil, the womb, the labyrinth to the door of hell. Evil is within us all. Essentially, a woman got pregnant and these nuns are in their laboratory talking about a curse, and one of them starts choking and then suddenly stabs the other nun, and it looks like Satan has like infiltrated the nunnery because there's like this glowing skull with red eyes that keeps rocking back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they ever showed it. They just showed a close-up of it is to make you think that evil is lurking in this place.
Yeah, but it didn't follow through.
No.
With whatever the fuck they were trying to do. It didn't.
I didn't understand. Like,
I didn't either.
I think it was just them trying to be visually aesthetic for the situation. Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the funny thing is the other nuns don't think anything of it. And the head nurse calls it a simple accident. I'm like, wait, a simple accident where she stabbed a knife into her like several times?
My knife accidentally fell into her vagina. I accidentally needed to kill the baby.
Right.
Accident.
And obviously some of the nuns are like, yeah, I ain't having none of that shit. None of that shit. Sorry.
Oh, I just slapped my knee.
Well, it wasn't intentional at first, and then I realized what I said. But which one of the priests later has his book catch fire for no reason.
I was going to say that was one of the scenes I really liked because I thought they did a good job at that. He was like walking around his room. Like, I forget what he was doing, and then all of a sudden he had his hand on the desk, and there was a bunch of books on there, I'm assuming they were Bibles, and then it just lit on fire out of nowhere.
Right, and then
his hand was like, ooh.
Then all the lights in the room explode, and then you see a bat fucking Jesus's head on a cross.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It's not fucking its head,
it's like moving.
Sitting there.
It was really cool how they did that, though. I was like, oh shit, I need to get myself one of those.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like a bat on the cross, like it was literally like the bat was moving like.
Well, all this starts happening really quick. Like you obviously feel like some of the nuns are in on some evil doing in the place because you see the kill and then you see this like crazy shit, but then you find out that it's just the fucking goddamn some crazy chick that's up in the fucking attic who's like using her telekinesis to fucking make things happen.
Move shit.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting if they would have gone like batshit crazy with the concept of this chick, like causing all this mayhem and like, because she brings fucking the literal dead back to life.
So this was another Carrie element to it, which I didn't even fucking realize.
But even bigger because she could control anything. It wasn't just fire.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, she could do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Well, I guess it's a fire. I'm thinking of Firestarter, but with Drew Barrymore.
Whatever, it's all the same.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I feel like it could have gone like really evil and like she could have just started murdering and popping people and like done some really cool, unique stuff in it, and it just didn't happen.
Maybe they just didn't want it to go there. They were trying to do the atmospheric type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, there was some pretty bizarre shit in it. Like, they had nuns spitting out blood during communion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then shit's going, you know, I don't know, like the nuns start praying over like that woman who spits out blood, and they, you know, like try to pray the shit out of the evil out of her, I guess. Super intensive praying, you know, to cast out the evil.
It's funny too, during that communion scene, I kept getting confused about the movie we watched last week.
Oh.
With those nuns.
Yeah,
kind of.
I
kept thinking, but I was like, oh shit, it's not this movie. It was last week's movie. It was Deadline. Deadline.
Yeah.
Because they were doing the movie with the nuns, and they were pulling the priests' innards out in you. I got it confused with this movie.
They even showed signs of the stigmata where she bleeds from the hands and the feet.
Oh, the nun. Yeah.
Yeah. And her hand, it's just...
That was kind of cool.
She eventually just dies, and then like everybody's just like, well, we'll have to solve the mystery. Like, no big deal. Like, what?
Well,
no.
you know, whatever. It's just
she's like
nun.
covered in blood, and she's dying. Call the fucking police, dude. You're not a fucking detective.
No, the police won't understand because this is the work of Satan, Alex. Okay?
Well,
police don't understand Satan.
It's cool though in the sense that like, you know, you're getting to see all this like weird shit happen, even though it's not like extremely gory or it is weird.
Right.
But you know, I was like, yay. I was like, at least it's not boring, you know, like it is, but it isn't. Like, at least it shows you stuff.
It's in spurts. There's good parts in spurts.
They show the guy, by the way, who's detective. He's Father Valeria. It's like a young, modern, science-accepting priest that doesn't consider evil to be like the typical evil that they're expressing. But somehow, fucking telekinesis is part of the logistics of science. You know, as if that's real. You know what I mean? Like, I don't...
There is a scientific explanation for this. I'm Dr. Valerium. What's his fucking name? It sounds
Valeria, not Valerium.
It sounds like an STD.
It's the other movie you're thinking of.
Anyway.
So this guy's like a faith detective, and he's the guy that's supposed to be like the police, even though, you know, I don't know. He's just like thinks everything's all poppycock. And he wants to find out how these women died, and he doesn't believe in the supernatural evil. But like I mentioned, telekinesis makes sense. He just comes to that conclusion like, boom. Oh, well, she's just telekinetic. No big deal.
We can control that shit.
That's not evil. It's just telekinetic powers. No big deal. But anyway, like, and then like, there's like scenes where he like walks in on a nun who's like carving open a dead body in this laboratory and pulling out its guts and putting it back in. And he thinks nothing of it. Yeah, it's just
that's right. He was like,
obligatory shit. Like, oh, there's bad things happening here, but I'm going to do absolutely nothing about it. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Wait, do priests do like mortuary stuff? What are those?
I don't know. Like, that's something I'm not used to. I don't know anything about, but maybe they used to bury their own dead, and they used to like mummify them and shit to bury them when they died inside the convent.
Right.
I don't know. It seemed really weird. He eventually gets attacked by a nun and then asks who's there, and a voice says, "The devil!" And the flames from the fireplace engulf this other priest, the original father, the padre.
That's right. He's like walking around. That was a pretty cool scene.
That was a cool scene.
Yeah.
They burned the shit out of him. You just see his body roasting on the ground.
That's where all their budget went to. Setting that guy on fire.
And then like there's like the other guy, the detective priest, Valeria, he passes out wakes up and he's got this like video camera that he records stuff on. But like there's no screen to see what he's recording.
And wasn't it facing his bed?
Yeah.
I thought that was weird.
He wakes up, sees it like facing him, and it's like recording on the desk. And then he stops it and plays it back just to hear what happened. And he hears some chick say, hey, I need to confess something to you. Meet me down in the confession. Like, wow, that's an elaborate plan for him to play it back.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Was it an answering machine? Like, I don't get it. It wasn't an answering machine.
No, it was a video camera.
Yeah.
But it didn't make any sense. Like, how was he supposed to play it?
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway,
with the will of God.
Yeah, like I kept thinking like when he flipped it open, there would be a TV, and I was like, oh yeah, they only had CRT tubes back then, so it would have to be this big TV. Yeah, they didn't have LED screens back then, to make sense of it. But anyway, he goes down to the confessional, and she says she loves him. This random chick who's like covered her face. She's like, I love you. And the head nun is like doing bad things, and she's out to kill and da 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 da.
Wasn't it like a faceless nun?
No, it's the chick.
Well, yeah,
the telekinetic girl.
But you couldn't see. But I kept calling her faceless nun because she had like a mask, not a mask, but she was like covered here, so you couldn't see her face.
Originally, she had her whole head covered, and then eventually it was just her mouth, and then eventually she took that off.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's just it went through stages.
Right, stages.
Yeah. Other thing that's weird though is when she confesses to him, she stabs through the confessional wall. Why? If she loves him and is trying to protect him, like it doesn't make any sense.
He was going to save her. Like, what are you doing? It's the devil.
Didn't make any sense.
It's the devil.
And then she disappears, like, whatever. And then he, like, tries to do communion later, but when he reaches into the small door in the tabernacle, he calls it.
Oh, yeah.
Where they get to do the communion, they find a roasted head.
It was just sitting there.
Padre's head. And he's like, oh, God, the tabernacle. Father Leonardo, I guess it was.
Right. And then after that scene, is that when he heads down to the catacombs?
Because
that's when shit starts getting crazy.
The Reverend Mother, the head nun, she's like threatening the gardener who he kind of knows the story, and then she pulls the shears on him to scare him, not to spill the beans about whatever's going on. You just know that she's done something. You don't know what. And then Valeria is like turning the place upside down to find proof of the murderer. He's just like going into every nun's room and like turning it over to find some sort of like proof of something. And there's like this catatonic woman that is like in one of the rooms, and he finds like some hair and she tries to attack him. Do you remember that? Uh-huh. Like, he finds hair under a tile, which I didn't really understand.
That was one of the, like, Satan worshiper things.
I don't know.
Because it was in a baggie.
He also found, like, a book or a drawing of nuns burning babies.
Which looked like a fucking 3-year-old, like, sketched that shit out.
Right.
With crayons. They used crayons.
I don't even know. But then, because the gardener tried to talk about shit, he, of course, dies. So the gardener sees like this cat, that this mysterious girl, the whole movie that you don't know who she is. She's just walking around with something over her face, so you can't tell what she looks like. She's always cuddling with a cat this whole movie. You see her like cuddling with it all the time. And this cat is outside and you're like, oh, what's the cat doing? Is it like evil or something? He sets the dogs to kill it and they fucking tear it apart. And then they turn on him and bite his hand and his face and his neck.
Because they ate the evil.
Right, I get. Well, she turned the dogs on him for killing her cat.
Right.
That's what basically happened.
Why does the convent have so many fucking dogs? They were like running an animal shelter there.
I don't know. Like, they seem like their own self-surviving society where they like have their own shit.
Well, do you think they weren't eating the dogs, were they? That was a lot of dogs.
No, I don't think so, because he had the chickens and stuff. But they flash back to like a previous years where like one of the previous nuns was accused of killing herself. She tried to drown and boil her baby. Do you remember?
Right.
But she saves it, and the baby uses its mind powers to make the nun kill herself. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh. I thought they were going to sacrifice that baby too. It was see again with
mind powers.
You're out of control.
It just seems funny to me that we've watched a couple of movies. This movie almost would have fit with Extra.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, you know?
Yeah, that probably would have been a...
But I'm glad we watched Deadline because I like Deadline a little bit better than this one, so...
Yeah, me too.
But apparently you find out that the head nurse has basically been hiding this child in the attic away from people. She's got a burned face. Even though the baby got completely submerged in the fucking pot that's boiling the baby, and they yank it out of there, only its mouth is fucking burned and... Which makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So
maybe they couldn't afford to put makeup up on top. They're just like, oh, we'll just make up half the face.
She the head nurse stabs him in the leg and tries to kill him. And then as the nun is about to kill the priest, the lights start flashing, and then a bright light opens up in the wall with the girl, the mysterious girl with a white hood on, saves Father Valeria, and she explains that she didn't want to be evil, that they made her evil. Mm-hmm. And she was half her face, like I was saying, was melted. And she kisses the priest, which is just weird.
Weird.
And the head nun stabs her own daughter in the back, but she doesn't die.
Well, she kind of died and then she came back to life.
Yeah.
Just
with her
mind powers.
She chases down her mother, which is the head nun, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's saying mama, mama over and over and over again while she's chasing her down. And then they go down to where those autopsies or where they bury the bodies or mummify them or whatever.
The catacombs.
Right. And they just all the corpses come to life and try to attack the head nun, but she stabs her daughter some more. And then the dead caretaker gardener Boris guy comes back to life because he's dead, and he chokes that bitch to death. Which is, this whole situation could have been done so much better.
So much better.
And I'm not trying to be picky. It just, for me, it just felt so long and drawn out, and it didn't have any atmosphere at that point whatsoever.
They gave up or something.
I don't know. And then you fast forward, another father shows up stating Valeria lost his mind and that the whole place starts to shake and a corpse pops out of a coffin. And you're like, what?
Okay. And wasn't that the end?
It was no, he wasn't crazy. There's a corpse and she's back. I don't know what that meant. She's dead. Either. Did she put her spirit in the corpse of a body or something, or?
Must have, so she could haunt it for the rest of her life.
I guess.
Haunt it for the rest of her life. That makes sense.
I don't know. I don't think the story was strong enough to make a sequel, probably.
No.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And ta-da!
Okay, next.
So we do have another movie in the Nunsploitation that is a little bit older, and Christina's been wanting to watch 90s movies, so this was kind of the perfect movie to watch.
I fucked up.
You done fucked up?
I done fucked up.
All right, go ahead.
I should have complained. Anyway, we watched Dark Waters from 1993. Elizabeth is tortured by horrible visions from her childhood. She travels to a primitive island to discover the truth about her dark past.
A nunnery.
Yeah, the island, Elizabeth finds a malevolent order of nuns. There seems to be no escape from the menacing evil that inhabits this strange island.
Yeah, a monastery island.
All right, tagline.
With mind powers.
All right, tagline is, sometimes evil lurks where you least expect it.
Oh my God.
It's the lamest tagline ever. Okay, this is directed by...
and written.
Sorry, this was directed and written by Mariano Baino. This was the only full-length movie he directed.
No, he did another one.
Oh, he did?
It was an anthology of shorts.
Oh, of shorts, that's why, because there were shorts.
But it's called The Trinity of Darkness. It's a feature-length film.
Uh-huh.
It's an hour and 30 minutes, I think, or 79 minutes
all of them
or something.
Together?
Yeah.
That's why, because I thought
they
were. And he also wrote a film called Wings of Fear.
And he did Resurrected Fanta Festival 2019, some sort of special video that I was trying to find. I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it either.
I was even trying to, because I wanted to check out the Trinity of Darkness too. And there's this really shitty version up on YouTube that looks like somebody filmed it on a fucking cathode ray tube, old TV, where it's got the light halo in the middle of the screen. And I just couldn't watch it.
It looked like an Instagram filter.
Yeah, it looked horrible.
Yeah, it did. Okay, this was also written by Andy Bark.
Okay.
This was his only writing credit.
Right. Well, he did do some editing on a film called Karunkura. But it was like, this is what that movie was based off of, or that short, I guess. They turned it into the feature film or something, I guess. Mm-hmm. They worked together on it, but...
Stars Lois Salter, who plays Elizabeth. She also played a Paris vampire in Interview with the Vampire. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And she was also in a TV series called Our Friends in the North. Vanera Simmons, who plays Sarah. This is her only credit.
Right.
Maria Kapnis, who plays Mother Superior. She actually passed away in 1993. So this was one of her last films. She's a Russian actress, and she's been in mostly Russian films.
Yeah, that I've never heard of.
Yeah, and there was like 50 films.
Yeah.
So,
there was one called The Savage Hunt of King Stock, and Ruslan and Ludmila, one of the movies, and then Sean's. Mm-hmm. Also has Albina Skarga, who plays the old blind woman. She was in a movie called Wandering Stars, Change, and 3 Stories. There's also Valery Basil, who's the fisherman guy. He was in Verema X, The Illusion of Control, House with a Turret, Ugly, and more. And it also stars Anna Rose Phipps, who plays Teresa, and this is all she ever did.
Right.
So
there's a lot of that in here, huh?
Yeah. What did you think of this movie, though? I want to know what you think.
Everything was done well, except the plot and the dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? I don't understand.
The flow and the timing were boring.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a slow burn because it really didn't lead up to anything.
Well, no, it's definitely a slow burn for sure. It's an atmospheric movie, yeah.
Okay. It was painfully slow, though. And it was kind of like a kiddie roller coaster at the fair. You know what I'm talking about? Like, oh, I'm going up. Oh, maybe it just went down. You know what I mean? Like,
that's how it felt to you? Okay.
Yeah, that's how it felt to me. And it's like there were these awesome nuns, and they were running around killing people, setting shit on fire, and then it cuts into this stupid bitch explaining why her father didn't want her to come to this island on his deathbed.
Well, yeah, it's like one of those movies that loops back into itself.
Right. The imagery was really good in this movie. I really liked it.
Okay.
It flowed well. The music actually went with the scenes. So it had that atmosphere.
Sure.
I really could feel what was going on. It was just a little slow. The plot was just, it was boring. It was really boring.
Okay.
The acting was good, and there is some creature effects
that you liked, or?
That I liked.
Okay.
But I was pretty much disappointed, and I wanted more torture and creatures, and I also gave this a 5 out of 10.
Okay. Did you? So you didn't feel it was atmospheric at all, or did you like?
Yeah, I did. I did think it was atmospheric. It was just boring.
It's just a little spotty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what do you think, Alex?
Well, so at first I was a little bored like you while watching this movie, but it's really well shot, and it's kind of unique that it kind of made me more curious. So as the story progressed, it's definitely shot like a feature-length art movie, art house kind of flick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
From the mind of someone who interprets like their own personal nightmares and, from beyond. Not unlike like any Lovecraft story. Like it felt like a Lovecraft story of like Dagon.
I was going to ask if that's what you thought.
Yeah, totally. Because this movie is just like super like on the beach, on an island, and there's rain all the fucking time, and there's, it's a very raw kind of film, and it's not a wordless, plotless art piece too. So, it's got a little bit of depth to it, and it is somewhat easier to follow than a lot of those art house films that you might not like or might like, It depends on what you are into. It is a little confusing, but I can't mark it poorly here because, it either makes up for it in style, imagery, or atmosphere. So I thought that was pretty unique. I would consider this to be a definite slow burner for sure, but, one that sort of does pay off.
Sort of. The
music is actually pretty unnerving, and it's like super distorted intentionally. I felt like there was something wrong with the audio from the movie. Mm-hmm. Like when they used the audio for the film or something like that. Like it wasn't, but it was intentionally done that way. To kind of give you that kind of unnerved, like something presence feeling.
It does that.
Yeah, and there was actually a good part in it when it like kind of unleashes that made me like really appreciate and like it a little bit more, because it was just like simple, but really creepy, and it kind of flowed with the camera work a little bit, you know. Plus the sound design in here has lots of like demonic voices moaning like infrequently, like shambling weird noises. It kind of reminded me of like a Fulci film, like City of the Living Dead, where this painter is painting a fucking rhino for whatever reason, and then the window explodes and then pokes into the wall and bleeds, and then she starts hearing like some woman in the kitchen who's just she finds dead, and then she calls her psychiatrist to come out and check it, but the noises that it was making was really creepy and unnerving, and I like that they put that in this a little bit. A lot of the nuns and the people are also blind in this movie, which is weird. I don't know why, because everything was too evil. Maybe they saw evil. It's true face, I guess.
They kind of explained it at the end.
I don't remember exactly why, but I'm, just paraphrasing what I saw. So. Right. But it also, they did that kind of thing in the movie The Beyond, where they used white eyes for dead people. That was really cool. But it really does feel like an Italian Dagon almost, but like a different story. But they, I don't know. It's interesting. There's like this amulet that, is this evil. And when it's all together, the evil exists. But when it's not, it doesn't. I don't know. It's kind of weird, interpretive kind of stuff. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed its attempt at the weird little Italian horror homage from the 80s. It reminded me at times of, like I said, Dagon and Fulci and all the good things that I liked, which we haven't really seen in a film since. So, it was kind of nice to see that. It isn't as good as those films, in my opinion, but it's pretty cool. On a low budget, you have to respect it for doing a lot with a little, and it's pretty creepy at times. And obviously you will be confused as to what the fuck is happening, but it does reward you along the way with, these little things, whether it be cool imagery or creature effects or like disturbing, just weird shit. So, in that sense, it's one of those films that offers enough on so little that it kind of makes me wonder what a feature film would look like if it had a huge budget. So like if this guy were able to get the money that he needed to make this like batshit crazy creature, whatever, insane Lovecraftian sort of film, I would be interested to see what it would look like. I don't know if it would be great, but I would be interested to see it. Right. But so far he hasn't really gotten that kind of money, but it does, it's super dark and like unsettling. So he does create this kind of atmosphere. Plus you can tell he has his own sort of vision down pat, regardless if you think it's good or not. So,
yeah, I can see that.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of like I don't know. I don't want to be disrespectful. I just feel like it's his own thing, but it's kind of like the great value version of some of that stuff.
Oh, I see.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he still was able to give that atmosphere of that style of movie making that is gone.
Right.
So in the 90s, which is cool. I actually appreciate that. But it's certainly not perfect, but it does have a nice glimpse into sort of like fever dream, nightmarish mindscape sort of feel. Like even if you find it boring, you'll find something that you like in this film, I think. It's not perfect as a whole, just lots of good ideas and atmosphere in spots that kind of make the whole a lot better, I think. And I'd say I'd probably give this one like a 6, It's wavering. And I say 6, like I would probably watch this again, but not likely. Not frequently.
Right.
I would probably watch it just because I was in the mood specifically for this kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Like I think if you were to watch Dagon and this movie, it would be a good combination. Because it's kind of similar in that regard. It's just a 6 out of 10 on a personal scale of intrigue, not necessarily something that it's in my particular tastes, but it does some things well that I like in some movies.
So did you like it better than The Other Hell?
Yes. Although I wouldn't have to pay as much attention to The Other Hell. Right. So if I was in that mood, I would say I would rather watch The Other Hell.
Right.
But if I'm in the mood to watch something that's a little bit more attentive, I would watch this.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? If I'm not in the mood to see atmosphere or like a slow burn, then I wouldn't want to watch this movie. But I don't know. You know, there's some things that I do like about it. It's not like a personal favorite of mine, but it is interesting and I enjoyed it. And I think he did well for very low budget. So, and he did some really unique shooting locations and like weird scenes and stuff. There was one death in the movie that was ridiculous that kind of harkens back to that old 80s, you know, but it wasn't as gory as I wanted it to be, you know?
Yeah.
But still pretty cool, you know? I don't know. Different. So I don't know if you guys are interested in seeing stuff you haven't seen before and you kind of want to go down that path, you might want to check it out. But honestly, both of these movies kind of meh for the most part for me.
Yeah, both of them are meh.
It's just, you know, I'm sure there are other ones that I could probably watch. And if you guys know any Nunsploitation films that you would highly recommend,
ooh, let us know.
Yeah, please let us know. We're always open to trying new things. Part of the reason I wanted to watch these is, like I said, I've never seen any Nunsploitation. At least I've seen women in prison movies, but I've never seen any Nunsploitation. And my personal interest in Nunsploitation leans a little bit more with Dark Waters, where there's this evil lurking presence. So that's why I kind of like this one a little bit more than I did the other one.
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? Because
I know what you mean.
This is more fulfilling in that regard, in the supernatural evil thing, the typical evil thing.
Which is, you like that.
Right. Where the other one is a little too played safe and didn't really go that evil route that I was hoping. Just didn't have the vibe.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's all I got pretty much to say about that.
Well, do we have any trivia on this?
Oh, to have a ton of stuff on this. Well, not a ton, just a little bit.
So we're going into spoilers?
Yes, we're going to go into spoilers now, guys. So if you haven't seen this movie and you want to check it out, all you got to do is actually go to Prime Video. It's up on Prime. Both Severin movies. These are distributed by Severin. They actually put it out on Blu-ray. So if you are interested in picking them up, you can pick them up from Severin, either of these movies, or watch either of these movies on Prime Video. So check them out if you want to check them out, if you're into those kind of things. A lot of people that I've heard really enjoyed Dark Waters, probably more than me. So if that gives you any kind of idea, maybe you will enjoy it more than I did, or you may absolutely fucking hate it. So it's kind of a, you never know. But
coin toss.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what we do here. We watch new stuff to check it out, see what we can find. Sometimes you find a gem in the rough. Sometimes you don't. This one's kind of a gem, I guess. So, but if you don't want anything spoiled, we're going to get into our spoilers section. If you don't want to hear any of that, no problem. We'll catch you next week, guys. But the timestamps are down below. We'll probably say something at the end of the episode to talk about what we're going to watch next week. I definitely am going to be doing a Grave Plots where we make up a movie. I need to edit it, so it'll probably be in, obviously not this week or next week, but the following week.
Soon.
Yeah. So I've just been busy and there's a lot of stuff going on. So, but let's jump into our spoiler section now. So, this movie, I'd mentioned it kind of briefly, but it was filmed in Crimea, Odessa catacombs, and Kiev in the Ukraine.
Oh, the Ukraine. Okay.
Some of the main spots, like the catacombs, where they're in the dirt and stuff like that.
So we got another catacomb movie.
Right. And, well, that, I don't know if it was a catacomb. That's like out in the open, the skulls and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I think. But this one was also shot in Moscow and in Rome, Italy. So you got Moscow, Russia, Ukraine, like Italy, like what the fuck?
Isn't it funny how it's nuns on an island and it's filmed in 3 different countries?
Right. Yeah, I know. Well, hey, man, whatever it is to make the movie work.
Exactly.
You kind of paint the picture for people. That's the movie magic, man. But the film was originally based on a short story by Andy Bark, who you mentioned. He was inspired by a childhood visit to the Staithes in North Yorkshire. And he said many years later, having worked as an editor on Mariano's film, The Caruncula, he mentioned that he was working on a script called Dark Waters, and he and Mariano began to work on it together because of that film. So I was wrong a little bit before. I thought that it was based off that story, but no, it was based on their work together on that short film that caused this Dark Waters movie. This was one of the first films to be shot in the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Oh.
So it was difficult and a very troubled one to shoot.
I bet.
The system there created many, many fucking problems, but it provided spectacular, cheap sets and locations that would have been impossible to get in the UK.
Oh, wow.
And the political situation tried its best to halt the production while they were making this film in the early days when finance was being sought by Bark and Mariano. And they developed a coup attempt that saw tanks on the streets of Moscow. Could not have helped matters. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And there was even another coup at the end of the filming when Mariano in Moscow for the dubbing was awoken by gunfire.
Oh, wow.
So there was a lot of turmoil going on when this movie was being made. There's another famous film that was like on the border of something that was made. I think it was The Possession, the movie The Possession.
Oh.
So it's kind of an interesting kind of, the film is being pushed in these times. You would think that most people are like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. But they're like, no, this movie needs to get made. Mm-hmm. The director was born in Naples, Italy. He's actually an Italian director.
Oh.
So I thought he was a Ukrainian director that filmed there, but no, he's actually an Italian. And he started shooting short films at an early age. And at the age of 18, started working as a production assistant in the shows for Italian television.
Oh, okay.
And a year later, he moved to London, England, where in 1990, he wrote and directed the short film that we've been talking about, Caruncula or whatever. Mm-hmm. He knew that he wanted to be in the movie business since he was like a kid, though. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until a school visit to see the Pope that the Italian-born Mariano Baino purchased a copy of H.P. Lovecraft's The Dreams in the Witch House and knew exactly what kind of director he wanted to be.
That's so funny that he went to go see the Pope and he got
Isn't that weird?
Lovecraft, yeah.
This is like in his biography. It says by his mid-teens, after years spent trying to valiantly rid himself of the crippling fear of the dark, a fear that he's never conquered, by the way, Baino has firmly convinced there was to be only one career for him, a horror meister extraordinaire.
Nice.
So, and Baino is a man who follows things through. A stint at a legendary experimental center of cinematography in Rome. It says it gave him the tools, and after a brief apprenticeship in the television thing that I was mentioning, he got down to the serious business of making movies, and Dark Waters was awarded actual Special Vincent Price Award for outstanding contribution to fantastic cinema.
Oh, wow.
So that's,
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's like it's made some fucking waves. And a lot of people do appreciate it, whether it's like, a 9 out of 10 or not. Right. There's potential.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's what I see.
I see the potential in it, too.
I see the potential, too, but I don't think he's ever really gotten the funding to show that potential, unfortunately. Right. But it's understandable.
Right. It happens.
So we can go over kind of some of our scenes that we had in this. I wrote a few things down to kind of like express some of that. Did you have anything in the beginning that you thought was interesting?
Yeah, actually, the very beginning scene when it showed like the church was flooding and it was all this crazy. Oh, yeah. Like it was an earthquake.
There was two simultaneous things going on at the time.
Yeah.
There was like these two kids that brought this kid who brought a amulet. Well, they call it an amulet, but it's an emblem. It's like a seal. Almost looks like
an amulet.
I thought an amulet was like a diamond.
No. Some of them, you pin them to your shirt.
Right.
So it could be diamonds or whatever.
But it was like as big as someone's like head.
It's an amulet. Yeah, but they can be big.
Okay. Well, it's made out of stone.
Yeah.
Which I would just think it's either a seal or what do you call it? Like a fucking... Yeah, like a seal.
I would think, I would think it was a seal too. Yeah. Seal, because the 7 seals.
Right, but
that's where I thought they were going to go with it.
This kid gives this nun a fucking seal, and then the nun goes to a cliff and gets pushed off, and then the seal breaks into a million pieces simultaneously while this priest is worshiping in the house of God, and the building starts coming apart with water.
Right. And then bugs. I just remember there were bugs everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Which was weird, because I was like, oh god, there's going to be bugs in this movie, like all over the place.
So it was almost like there was like the evil was starting to flood the place because it was unsealed until the seal broke or whatever.
Yeah, like the seal was protecting something.
I don't know. Well, it was to unleash something we found out later.
Oh, yeah, it was to unleash. So it was to protect them.
Yeah, if you put the seal together and remade it, it would form and make the evil lurk. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it was broken into pieces, it couldn't be released into the earth.
Right. And then when the two girls were holding it, didn't one of the girls like catch on fire?
Later on, maybe? I don't know. I don't remember that.
Oh,
I remember one of the girls ran off from the other girl.
Yeah, one of the girls took off, and then I thought something happened to the other girl, and it made it seem like that other girl was murdered.
Maybe because the other girl is her sister later on. You find out Sarah, and she's all burned and fucked up. Yeah, and that because I wrote that down, and I was like, oh, okay. I just read it. It's a little confusing though, because there's a lot of different characters, and then they fast forwarded to 20 years later, and there's like this girl named Teresa, you find out later, and she finds a hole in the wall, and she goes into these catacombs, and then in the catacombs she gets stabbed because she finds a piece of one of the seal.
And she touched it.
Yeah, and so like some nun stabs the shit out of her. And it's like this cool little artistic thing where her body washes up and the blood flows down. And there's all these nuns like worshiping, laying face down on the floor and shit.
You think they're dead, but they're not.
Yeah, they're just worshiping somehow, some evil, or I don't know if they're trying to prevent it or bring it.
Right. It was confusing. And then later on, you find out Teresa was Elizabeth's friend.
Yeah, and she came to the island
which makes no sense.
None.
Ah! Well, we just did a nun.
Oh my God.
We just did the nun thing again.
That's terrible, dude. I'm sorry.
We should do a shot every time.
Yeah, I know. We should probably just stop editing or just stop making episodes because of that joke. Sorry, guys. Anyway.
None.
I really didn't even mean to do that. That's the fucked up thing. You know what I mean? Anyway. Meanwhile, there's another woman from London who I thought was the same girl, like, because this movie kind of jumps around a little bit, and you're not really sure. She's like taking a bus to this boat, and then she takes the boat to this island, and then nobody will take her on the boat. This one guy won't take her until next week because they only go out once a week.
You know what? That should be a sign right there. When your father tells you not to go, and then the locals are telling you not to go. Maybe you should go.
Yeah, because like the one boatman guy is like, I fear death, so I don't want to go.
I'll go next week.
Yeah, we'll go next week. Yeah, when I'm not fearing death, like I don't understand. And I guess they're doing something over there. You just don't know what's going on. And then this other guy's like, I don't fear death. I'll take you. It's like, what? Okay.
Oh, and we got to mention when they were on the boat, and then this guy pops out of nowhere and just starts eating a fish.
Like, I feel like
a goblin.
Yeah, which was cool, actually. He's like, oh, don't mind him. He's just weird.
Did he have black eyes? It looked like he had black eyes.
Kind of, yeah. Okay. Like evil had gotten into him somehow.
Yeah, and he had to eat fish.
Yeah, that was weird. And they shoot everything in the rain, too. So it's like almost like they were trying to do Suspiria or something. And like, or in like Dagon, where it's always raining constantly. And it's like, which is cool. I just would hate to shoot in it.
I would too.
I mean?
Ridiculous.
But it's cool. It's atmospheric that way, I guess. So she shows up and there's this, monastery, and they're like, almost like they're expecting her to show up, and they just say, she's like, well, I just came here to do some.
Oh, they were expecting her because when she walked in and they were like, oh, we weren't expecting you and we didn't think you'd make it until tomorrow. And she said, no, I keep my appointments.
Yeah. But she's there to do what? Study something? Yeah, she doesn't really explain it.
Her mother was from that island.
Right.
That's pretty much it. And then we found out.
And she also meets up with this other girl named Sarah, who seems to know everything that's going on, and she seems real friendly with her right off the bat. Like they've known each other.
Right.
And they haven't.
But they do.
But they do because they're sisters.
Yes.
But you don't find that out till later, which is really weird. And it's like she knew that she was her sister the whole time.
Oh, yeah. She did.
The Sarah girl or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, there was this really cool scene, though, in this that they kind of go back to that shows the evil reaching out into her mind or something like that to get her to become evil. Elizabeth's character. And she has this dream sequence or vision or whatever of a nun on a cross. And there's two girls that were like painting in the painting that she was looking at with the mask, the seal, or the amulet, whatever you want to call it. And then, the nun's like on this cross. She has no eyes, and the cross and her just float across the floor with this blue light behind it, which looked really cool. That's when you notice the nun has no eyes. Her mouth is agape, and she's like demonically moaning, and it's got really cool lighting.
Right.
I thought that was really cool.
All the dream sequences or fever dreams in this, it was really cool. Every one of them were really cool.
Like, I really wish that it just would have like kicked the door open and done more of that.
Yeah.
Almost like kind of how City of the Living Dead, when they go down in that hole in the ground and then all this shit is like going batshit crazy.
And they never really tied in those dreams into what was going on.
Not really, no. It's just kind of like her getting a feeling of something happening or the evil seeping into her. They don't really rationalize with it too much because, you know, if you've seen the movie, then you know by the end of the movie that she meets up with her mother, which is this demonic creature.
Which looks like a Cthulhu, like a half-assed Cthulhu.
Almost like a Cthulhu.
What's it called?
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
Yeah. It's like,
whatever.
But it's not even. It's like this, like, I don't know, weird tree creature that's like fleshy lurking behind this wall. And
it was a cool creature.
It kind of looked like a tree mixed with something
like
else.
Roots. It was like rooty.
Right. You know what they kind of reminded me of is that Netflix movie where that one guy from where he goes to the island and these people are like worshiping the nature or whatever, and the nature goes out and kills people. It's this old woman who's like a part tree.
I don't know.
So I don't know. Maybe it's based off some actual lore or whatever. Dreams of a witch house or whatever. Maybe he's doing like, I don't remember that story 100%, but I know that has to do with like a witch and stuff. So, but then there was that scene with the old woman who's like blind and she gets burned alive, which was kind of.
It's like it almost was like she was trying to help Elizabeth.
Right.
Like she was trying to help her get off the island, and then the evil found out and telekinetically set her on fire. No, because the nun comes in and like straight up lights her on fire. She throws the fucking. That's right.
She throws the burning cross shit in the fucking door.
What the fuck was up with that too? Like all the nuns were walking around with burning crosses.
I don't know.
I'm like, is that evil?
I don't know.
Or were they? See, I was confused. I was like, is that how they worship?
I don't know.
The Lord, or is that evil? Because you think the cross would be like upside down cross?
No, I don't know. Maybe it's older than that. I don't know. It's just weird obligatory shit, I guess. I don't know. There was a scene where Elizabeth gets attacked by a nun with a dagger, and then she bangs her head on the ground till her brains spill out. And it was so, like, the editing on it wasn't really good. No, because she was like slamming her head down, and it was just like, it didn't look like she was hurt at all. Yeah, at all. Like, because that's right. She slammed her head down, and then it went, psst, and it was like, that wouldn't have done that. I mean, it was cool. I appreciate that they added it, but yeah, it didn't exactly, wasn't executed really well. No, it could have been like way cooler. Yeah, they could have put a pillow down there or a prosthetic head. Yeah, that would probably been better. But you know, like different an angle, like where they show the prosthetic head hitting the ground harder so that they could cut to it every time. Maybe it was too expensive. It was cheaper just to give that chick a concussion. Or you just do a shot like upwards where you just see the face and her just using something and pounding it on the ground, and then you cut to it. Like, I don't know. That's just how I would have done it. But right. I sound like a dick now, but I don't know. It just didn't work. But I appreciated it being in there anyway. Right. But that's when you find out that Sarah is her sister, and she's horribly disfigured and burned alive, pretty much, and looks like a hairless burned worm woman or something. Right, because all of her clothes come off. Yeah, and she's got like burned nipples and shit. She got burned titties hanging out. But it seems Sarah was upset because her sister is normal. Like, she's normal looking. And she knew something was wrong and ran away. Right. As a child and ran back to the nun. Father. And then the nun died for her, and her father got her out of there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, why not come back? She was like, oh, man, I really wish I would have listened to my dad. Like, no shit. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But it's cool. They show the scene where like Elizabeth reaches into like a nun's stomach on the cross as a creature breaks the walls, and there's like this demonic looking hand that it's like this demon lurking behind the wall, black with like red nails. Right, and she like bites into the stomach piece that she ripped out, and then you see the amulet on the ground getting blood on it, and then it somehow fixes itself, the seal, because it had the blood, the power of Satan. Yeah. And then this huge, like, in the dark creature emerges all weird, but I don't know. And she's like, Elizabeth, I am your mother. Yeah. It's not Star Wars or some shit you're making it by.
I am your mother.
I mean, it looked cool, but you can barely see it.
Right.
So it's like they didn't want you to see it too much.
Yeah,
and it's
they
like really short-lived.
Yeah, because they had it up against like in the wall, like or in the mountain or whatever.
It was in the shadow.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't in the mountain. We were underground.
Oh, I thought it was.
They go underground in the catacombs into this one like section.
Yeah, and it was trapped in there, and then it started oozing through the thing because it kept showing the body parts.
I don't know what the fuck they were trying to translate there,
Yeah,
but I don't think it was oozing through.
Oh, okay.
It just somehow appeared on the other side of the wall. Like in front of the wall. They didn't show like...
Oh, how?
How.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And it was like in the shadows, so you couldn't really see it. I mean, it's cool. It's got some pretty cool stuff there. But yeah, like again, it's probably like a 4 out of 10 for most people. But like, I appreciate some of the moments that they did have in it, so I have to give it some props.
Yeah, that's me too. I probably would have given it a 3, but I did enjoy those scenes.
Yeah, like when they did shots, they did really cool shots. There was like a scene where like Elizabeth is walking all over these dead fish. And that was just like a really cool scene.
Yeah, that was.
You know what I mean? Like that was just a really interesting looking shot. It's like it had all the makings of a great movie, but it just didn't do it.
It didn't hit the mark.
Right. Like, so it's like, it's tough for me. Like I want to give it more credit than most people would, I think.
Yeah.
Typical like casual viewers would not want to watch this kind of movie.
No way.
It's definitely not a casual viewer movie neither of these really.
Right.
But this one you have to pay a little bit more attention to, and it's going to be longer segments, better atmosphere, I guess. So I don't know. The ending was okay. I just wish it would have lasted longer and we would have seen more.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they did what they could with their budget, but
Elizabeth didn't get away, right?
She breaks the amulet, and that's what.
Oh, that's right. Elizabeth becomes blind.
That's right, and she's a nun now.
And then they nunned her up.
Yeah, she's the protector of the beast now.
Yeah, that's what it is.
She's like trying to prevent it from coming out.
Right.
So, but yeah, she's got the white eyes. So
because she's seen the creature.
Yeah, because it was so traumatic, I guess. Right. Because the other like cool elements they had were like that painter guy who was like, he was a blind person who could paint pictures that would tell the future. He was like an oracle that they were using. So I don't know.
There was a really cool scene with the painting, and he kept rubbing his hands on the painting.
Oh, and then the face came out of it.
Yeah, that was really cool how they did that.
Yeah. I was like, it's cool. It's a cool effect what they did.
Yeah.
But they don't really explain why it's happening, so it's kind of pointless in the same regard.
The fever dreams.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why. Okay, cool, I'm down. It's like none of it really makes sense, but there's just some cool visuals in it that I like.
Right.
If I wanted to, so I guess the 6 that I gave this movie out of 10 is based. Did you give your score?
5.
You said 5. So both of these were average.
Both of them were average.
So my 6 is probably based on just aesthetics.
Which makes sense because you really, really like that.
It's mostly an aesthetic kind of movie.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. Totally.
There's no real, like, that's what it's intended to be. So that's why, I don't know.
Yeah, you did a good job.
I'm trying to justify my number because if I really think about it, I didn't enjoy it, but I just appreciated it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Probably most people are going to want to avoid it, but I think if you're, deep into the horror genre and you haven't seen it, you should. I think you can find something out of it. So, but yeah, that's it, guys. That's it for our episode this week. It's always a little disappointing when we watch a movie that's kind of just 2 movies that are average, but you can't, like we would know.
Exactly. You gotta watch it to figure it out.
Right. Yeah. Like we don't just watch movies that we've seen a million times. Like,
well, I mean, we could watch Interview with the Vampire.
Oh God. I just like to, if I'm going to do movies, there's so many that I haven't seen.
No, you're right.
I'm on this quest to see and soak in. Yeah, I really want to baste myself in fucking these movies.
Right.
That I've never seen because I love the thrill of the hunt. I like hunting and digging for these lost treasures.
And we did find another movie while we were looking for this movie.
Which one?
Curse Kathy or something?
Oh, the Kathy's Curse.
Kathy's Curse.
Which I have heard of before. It just hasn't, I haven't thought about it in a long time because I was looking for demonic children movies at some point years ago, and we ended up picking it up. So we ordered
these movies.
Yeah, this is Kathy's Curse is actually a public domain movie that is considered to be one of the so bad it's good films that you need to watch.
Have you seen it?
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
I remember bits of it for some reason.
And we bought it.
I think it'll be fun.
I hope so.
I like to pick up movies that, you know, may not be the best movies you've ever seen, but it'll be the weirdest experience you've ever had. And this movie is probably one of those movies that won't get a reprint of it for a long time. And I'm not sure if it was Severin that put it out that did Kathy's Curse.
I don't remember.
But we got a copy and it was like one of the last copies.
It's always last copy.
I don't know. I think we should actually review the movie.
Well, that's a good, I think so too.
And I think it would be fun. And I've also been looking up some public domain movies, guys, that we could probably watch on Twitch together.
We could do a watch party.
Yeah, we could do a watch party and just kind of like make fun of it. Or, you know, there's some movies in the 80s that I found that we could watch that would be perfect, you know, for that kind of movie. And we could just kind of like watch and make fun of it and joke about it and spend some time together. So if you guys are interested in that, I got to look into it a little bit more with Twitch and then maybe even send them a letter, an email or whatever to ask them if that's okay. Since these are public domain, you can watch them on anything and not get sued because nobody owns it. It's public.
Do it in the group.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. But Kathy's Curse is one of those movies that I think we should review for an episode. I don't know if that we're going to do it next week, but well, guys, of course, follow our social media on Facebook. You can follow our social media on Twitter, Instagram, wherever we post. Even on our Reddit page, we have Beyond the Void horror, and that's a place that you can go to check out what we're going to be talking about the week before so that you can watch it. I'm trying to find movies that you guys can watch on streaming services so that it's easier for you to watch them and not have to pick them up and buy them, because those movies are, you know, in the pandemic are not easy to do. But even though we ordered Kathy's Curse anyway, so but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. We'll let you know what we're going to do next week. So we'll hope to see you then on Monday for a brand new episode of Beyond the Void. And as always,
long live the void.